You've had Wendy's nuggets dipped in sauce, but have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new Saucy Nuggs take the crispy and spicy nugs you love and turn them up to 11. Choose between flavors like buffalo, honey barbecue, garlic parm, or if you're a real heat seeker, try the spicy ghost pepper only on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. I dare you. That's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs you already love. Pick a flavor, grab some extra napkins, and prepare to nug like you have never nugged before. For a whole new way to nug, it's got to be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's. Welcome to Andy and Ari on 3. Home off on 3 in Nashville. We are presented by Wendy's, and we got spicy takes for you today.
Yeah, I'm super excited to get into your spicy takes.
Yeah, you have to pick the sauciest take now. We let you blast away with the takes as the new guy last week, but now I get to bring my takes to the table.
Yeah, I mean, I came in kind of hot last week, so I'm super excited to see if you can blaze through that. I will say that this is a wonderful setup. I'm super excited to be here at the On3 headquarters and cannot wait to hear what you have to say, Andy.
Well, it's going to be very interesting that we've already got folks in the chat trying to guess what my saucy takes will be. We will get to the saucy takes. We do have some news to talk about, and we have just an amazing interview. Dylan Sampson, Tennessee running back. He does nothing but score touchdowns and gain yards. He's going to be a star this season, but he's just a star, period. He's the best end zone dancer in college football. He's also just one of the more interesting people in college football. And we visited with him in Knoxville, and he taught us how to dance in the end zone.
Yeah, he's one of these people that you just get a sense that regardless of where they're headed, they're going to be successful. And the good news, because this is a football show, is that he's very successful at football. Much more successful than you and I are trying to dance. So, like, a part of the job, I guess, is humiliating yourself. Please be kind to both me, or not me. Just you can take it all away. To him. But like,
blast away.
It's gonna be quite the show to see us trying to figure out how to dance in the end zone. And I just did learn something when we did the interview, Andy. It's just how athletic you have to be to just dance.
Well, that's the thing. You actually are more athletic than you realize.
Yeah, I mean, I think I could do some stuff.
Oh yeah, and you have more rhythm than me. I think we made that abundantly clear. So yeah. It will be a lot of fun to, well, you guys can just do what you will with it, and I accept whatever you sling my way after this. But we do have to talk about a little news first, Ari. Our Pete Nakos, who's sitting right back there, reported on Tuesday that Notre Dame quarterback Riley Leonard dealing with a little shoulder injury. We don't yet know what that means for Notre Dame in the Purdue game, whether Riley Leonard is going to start, whether he's out. Steve Angeli, who started the Sun Bowl for the Irish, would be the guy if Riley Leonard can't go. And, I kind of wonder, because the way that game ended, that Northern Illinois game ended, a really bad interception from Riley Leonard. I don't know if he was already dealing with the injury and that was hampering him in the game. But I do think it was probably in the back of Marcus Freeman's mind, do I do something here anyway?
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about a really rough week for a program that came, 10 days removed from saying, I think they're going to go undefeated. And I think that, it is interesting to wonder whether or not this NIU loss has something to do with the fact that their quarterback was injured. But the fact remains, regardless of when the injury happened or, how long it's going to take, they cannot continue to exist in a world where they can't move the football against NIU. So, that said, they have 2 young quarterbacks that are on the roster, one of whom is the literal future of the program. So, I always wonder.
That would be CJ Carr.
That'd be CJ Carr, yes.
Yeah.
And I always wonder, too, because in some areas of the country, you have quarterbacks who are true freshmen who are out here slinging the ball around and are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other part of the country, you have 5-star quarterbacks like Carr was, who hasn't played yet. And it's like, well, is he ready to play? Is this the time to turn the page? And also,
we have seen Angeli start a game and be very effective. Now, obviously, that was a Sun Bowl against an Oregon State team that was about to lose it. I believe that Jonathan Smith was already gone, but Notre Dame looked very effective in that game. Steve Angeli looked like he was very at ease running the offense. So that would seem to be the way to go in that situation. But it's interesting because you say, oh, it's Purdue. Okay, they just lost to Northern Illinois. You can lose to Northern Illinois. You can lose to Purdue.
Oh, for sure. And Purdue's got some punch to it. So I've seen at times Purdue really rise to the occasion and been really good in in certain situations. So, yeah, I think that the whole Riley Leonard scenario is very interesting because if he is hurt or it turns into a season-ending injury somehow, like what do you do with him? Because he probably could get another year somewhere while you have, CJ Carr waiting in the wings to take over. Like the whole program aspect of this is almost as interesting to me as what are you going to do this year with your guys?
Well, there's also Deuce Knight who
hasn't
flipped to Auburn yet. So
still committed.
Yeah. So, and the thought was, well, if CJ is really the guy, well, that would explain why Deuce Knight would want to flip, because he'd want to go to a place where the job's going to be open. I guess we don't know that right now.
Yeah, we don't.
Because here's the other Riley Leonard thing. Like, if the injury is serious enough, do you shut it down and try to redshirt this year and try to play in college again next year, whether that's at Notre Dame or somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a person like him, when fully healthy, has a lot of potential. That's why we were so excited about Notre Dame all year. The problem with it is that we haven't been able to see him for long periods of time at any point in his career. So I think that playing a year where you're not healthy and not effective probably isn't the best plan for him personally. The problem is that means that we're going to probably have to start over. Let's just be honest. Start over and go somewhere else and figure it out, because I don't think that he's going to be on the team next year.
Yeah, because I think it does seem like they're working toward a CJ Carr ascension at some point.
Yeah,
whenever that happens, whether that's later this year, next year, that does seem to be the plan.
And in college football, Andy, you have to have a succession plan. Like, you can't
more now than ever.
There has to be a natural progression to things at that position, because people aren't waiting around. They're not patient.
Yeah.
CJ Carr probably wouldn't want to say, okay, I'll give it another year. 5 years ago, people did that.
Yeah.
I don't think people do that anymore.
No, I mean, you see the Garrett Nussmeyers or the Carson Becks who do it, but they do it with I don't think there's a guarantee necessarily, but there's definitely kind of a wink and a nudge and, hey, it's going to happen for you. Because if you string somebody along, it's going to end very badly for you.
Yeah. And, if the best scenario for you is to stick with the program that you committed to out of high school for another year, and you have multiple years potentially at the end of that line to start for that place, that's a heck of a lot different than the path that Riley Leonard's taken. So you have to remember, like, he didn't come to Notre Dame out of high school.
No.
He's been on campus for 6 months?
Yeah.
So it's just a little bit different, and you're probably more loyal and more true to the guys that you are developing and bringing up through the high school ranks, which gives them more leeway to potentially keep them. So I don't know how this is going to play out, but it is a tough week for Notre Dame, and certainly might explain what happened on Saturday if this injury occurred while he was playing or before he played.
Yeah, and we'll find out. We'll find out more about that. We'll find out more about the Florida quarterback situation. Graham Mertz apparently practiced full speed on Tuesday. That was going according to plan, basically, because the plan was Monday was a non-contact, then Tuesday was full. And so we'll see what that means. We'll talk a little bit more about that Florida quarterback situation later. The other piece of news that we do need to address, Ari, did you sue the NCAA yesterday?
I mean, I feel like with that suit being as broad as it is, I probably should have.
I mean, everybody else did. So Jannard Robinson and Braylon Edwards sued the NCAA and the Big Ten Network
class action. There should be a commercial about it at 2 a.m. while you're watching infomercials.
That's right. Did the NCAA keep you from making money? But that is the same complaint as the House versus the NCAA case, which they've got a settlement for, but the judge hasn't approved it yet. And they may have to go back to the drawing board. It may get blown up. It may go to trial. And it's like they're just piling back on because the settlement isn't going through. It gets worse for the NCAA, though, because the Attorney General of South Dakota filed suit on behalf of South Dakota State and South Dakota, saying, hey, these FCS schools are being asked to pay all this back money in the House settlement, which is still proposed, which they have not approved yet. But basically, the way the House settlement works is the FCS schools would have to pay a disproportionate amount of money in back damages to the athletes who were supposed to get NIL or who, got robbed of money because they weren't allowed to use NIL deals. So that's yet another thing, because we've been told this settlement's going to go through. The revenue sharing is going to start next year. I don't know if it's going through, Ari.
Andy, if you go back in time and think about how much money it actually would cost to make people whole who weren't able to make money off their NIL for the last, even just cut it off at 20 years. That is a mind-boggling amount of money.
It is.
And like, I don't even know how you would accurately account
and that's
for all
why
that
they
money.
settled it at $2.4 billion.
Yeah.
Because the fear is if you go to trial, so it's an antitrust case. If you lose an antitrust case, that it's called treble damages. I don't know why they don't just say triple, because that's what they mean, multiply by 3. So if you lose, like, let's say you lost and the damages were determined to be $6 billion, then you actually have to pay $18 billion.
Yeah, that's
so two is a lot less than that.
Yeah, that's I've actually was up thinking last night, Andy, has the Big Ten Network or any of these other
this is the first one of those to get sued, and what makes this very interesting is remember who the Big Ten obviously is part owner of the Big Ten Network. Who's the other owner?
Andy, did they ever use your SI covers on the channel?
Oh,
because you could get in on this, dude.
Oh, they have. But see, I was on a team that was in the video game. I actually was eligible to file a claim in the O'Bannon case.
Well, you would have made a few $100, but you should have done it.
Well, here's the thing.
Taking me to Popeyes.
So one of the people who worked on the case told me I could have filed a claim. And I was like, are you sure about that? Because those teams only went 2 deep, and I was like 9 deep.
Yeah.
So because the 96 Florida team was in some of those games as one of the classic teams, because first national champion in University of Florida history, the last first-time national champion.
I still haven't seen his ring, guys.
Yeah, I know.
We were talking about it in the car yesterday. I really want to see it.
You can see it. I'll show it to you.
Yeah.
But no, I my thing was there's no way, because I know I wasn't actually in the game because they only went 2 deep on the depth chart. So I probably would have been denied the settlement money. But this whole thing, and look, Nakos and I have been telling you all along, this settlement was not cut and dried. It was not going to be that easy for them, because they're still trying to arbitrarily cap somebody's earning power by deciding unilaterally amongst themselves. And remember, they're competitors, the schools, so they're colluding that boosters can't pay above this, or it has to be, real NIL. Well, who determines real NIL? Like, if somebody wants to pay Ari $1 million to make Instagram posts about their protein drink, who am I to say that Ari's not worth that?
Unwinnable proposition whenever you get into the realm of capping income.
Yes.
Period.
There's one way to do it. Patrick Mahomes can't sue the NFL over the salary cap because Patrick Mahomes' union agreed to the salary cap. Collective bargaining is the only way. But here's the thing, Ari, and I've said this is the only way it'll work, where you can have rules. But if I'm a player right now, I don't want to join a union. I don't want to collectively bargain, because it is never going to be better than it is right now for the players.
Yeah, the power dynamic, it's so crazy how much it's changed, Andy, because 4 years ago, they had no power. Like none.
And now they have all of it.
They have all of it. So the pendulum has swung very dramatically in the other direction.
Schools in NCAA, the kids have a term for this. And we can show it on the graph, like the F around axis and the find out axis. Like, you found out. So
there's a lot of effing around, though. Andy.
Yeah. There's decades of effing around, and now they're finding out.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of this topic, if you want to learn more about this or just be fascinated and entertained, go to Prime Video, watch the money game. So they followed athletes at LSU all last year. So we're talking about Jayden Daniels, Angel Reese, Floje Johnson, Livvy Dunne. And it's all about how they capitalized on NIL, adjusted to the NIL world, dealt with the NIL world. I watched the first 2 episodes last night. All 6 episodes have dropped, and it is absolutely fascinating. Like, I had no idea how much Jayden Daniels' mom helped him navigate things, and how differently Jayden Daniels handled his situation than, say, Angel Reese or Livvy Dunne. And everybody had to attack it their own way. And it's just really interesting. So if you are a Prime Video subscriber, hit that link in the show description if you're watching on YouTube, and it'll take you right to the money game. You can watch it on whatever device you want to watch it on. If you are not already a Prime Video subscriber, what are you doing? They got NFL games. They got that Roadhouse remake. I'm watching the Lord of the Rings show, the Rings of Power. It's awesome. Elves, dwarves, men. Ari hates all this stuff, but I love it.
Was that all comic book stuff?
J.R.R. Tolkien did not write comic books, Ari. But the money game is where it's at. The folks who watch this show, I know you're interested in all this stuff. It is absolutely fascinating. I can't wait to watch the next 4 episodes. But hit that link in the show description, and you can also watch the money game. So if you're not signed up for Prime Video, get yourself signed up. If you are, just hit that link, and it'll take you right there. All right, Ari. It's time for one of the greatest interviews we've ever done. Definitely one of the best this week. Dylan Sampson, Tennessee running back, man who finds the end zone with great frequency. He's going to become your favorite football player. I'm telling you right now. Here's Dylan Sampson.
We are in a room named after a great Tennessee Vol from the great state of Louisiana, Peyton Manning, with a great Tennessee Vol from the great state of Louisiana, Dylan Sampson. I'm trying to think. So Peyton Manning, Raynoch Thompson, like you're right there on that list of Vols from Louisiana.
Trying to make it bigger.
Well, all right, you were making it big. I mean, and I think you knew a year like this was coming. But these first 2 games, has it even surpassed what you thought?
Nah, not really. It was just really something I planned for. Not even planned for, just work for it, I never go into games worried about stats, worried about anything. I just know if I take care of business, then at the end of the day, I'm going to get the result that I've been working for. So, I think I'm really just showing everybody what I knew I was capable of this whole time.
Dylan, we're in the Peyton Manning room here at the Tennessee facility, and we have Super Bowl pants and record-setting pants and all this beautiful pants, like a lot of great pants, but just like a wall here with all the accomplishments, everything that Peyton did. What do you think you would have to do for there to be a room named after you in this building?
Ooh. I don't know. I don't know if they even have space for that. They're probably going to have to add it on, but I don't know. For a running back, I might have to go crazy, win the Heisman, national championship, all things to be planning to do, I don't know. I don't know, but shoot, ask the people above me.
So you have talked, you just said that you don't plan for stats, you don't plan for touchdowns. Obviously, they have happened for you this year. But one thing I'm curious about, you're the best end zone dancer in the country. I don't think there's a question about that. How much do you prepare, and do you have different games? So against NC State, you had a tribute to Rich Homie-Quan, may he rest in peace. Mm-hmm. And you had something else week 1 against Chattanooga. Like, how much are we planning this out? How much are we thinking ahead? And how much of it is right now I'm in the end zone, holy crap, I got to do something?
Some of it is just stuff we just do throughout the week. The funny part is I never actually liked to celebrate, especially coming out of high school, because I just never wanted to have the persona of a showboat. But I think now you realize we're all on the same playing field. You know what I'm saying? We all kind of made it to the level. So now it's like you want to let loose and have fun with it. You know what I'm saying? That's a big mantra that I wanted for this team this year. Is just when people turn on TV, people come to the games, it's the team that's having fun. So it's like, if I get in a little end zone, my teammates have persuaded me, you got to start doing something. You know what I'm saying? I really haven't even danced for real. People ain't even seen all my moves yet. I'm going to keep them in. But it's really just stuff we mess around in practice. And it's just like, hey, you do this. Yeah. And then everything else, if I get in on more than one thing, it's just like celebrate with my team, do whatever.
Well, first of all, we're going to try to get a preview of those dances that you have in the bag. But I've got 2 questions. Because I always think to myself, Dylan, like if I were somebody in your position, I would be so insufferable as a human being and just dancing and enjoying it. Why did you feel reservations for that? And then 2, well, why don't you go ahead and answer that one first? Someone asked you a follow-up.
I think it was just a mentality I had just coming out of high school. I was probably like the only person at my school that actually got recruited for real, and I never really wanted to it was just something about me that I just kind of wanted to keep that humble persona. Not to say I couldn't have fun with it, but my thing was I score, give my lineman a high five, and get the ball back to the ref. And, you know, times last year I kind of started to do some things in the end zone. You see me doing things in the end zone last year. But, you know, anytime I got in a game last year, I really wanted people to know that just I'm straight business. And it's still that way. But, you know, my opportunities, I never knew when they were going to come. You know what I'm saying? So it was, hey, in the end zone, celebrate my team. Let's do it. You know what I'm saying? Now it's transformed into our, you know, I don't want everybody to be stuck up. I feel like we play freely, and that's when we just like having fun, you know? So they look at me, they say, knowing I never even like ever wanted to do dances, they get hyped me out, you know what I'm saying? Know that I am doing dances in the end zone and stuff. So it's just.
Have you ever practiced an end zone dance by yourself in your place in front of the mirror?
No, never had. Never.
So I was watching an interview with you, and apparently, though, when you are at home, you're strumming on the guitar quite a bit. What are we playing when we're strumming?
Anything really. I really like a lot of intros, a lot of finger picking movements, but doesn't matter country where they got R&B guitar intros. Maybe some rap songs got good intros.
What's your favorite that you've learned?
I like playing Tyler Childers on the guitar for real. He has a lot of good songs like Follow You to Virgie, Her in the Banks. He got a lot of good.
Oh yeah, you're connecting with the fan base here too. He's big in East Tennessee, so
he got a lot of good songs. Like,
well, it's my son plays piano, and he hated piano lessons, and didn't want to do the songs in the book. And it was like he figured out he liked it when he could teach himself the intro to Still BRE.
Yeah.
Like the and I hear him doing that outside. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh. How much fun is that when you start figuring out like, oh, I can make this work?
Nah, it is. It's like, and I love playing the guitar too, because it's just like, it's like a getaway from me from, you know what I'm saying, stress relieving. I could just sit there all day and like, when I do have the time, you know what I'm saying, to just play my guitar. And like when you learn a new song, it's like running a touchdown. You know what I'm saying? Like getting a first down. It's like that feeling of accomplishment. So it's just like when you do learn something that you like, it makes you fall in love with that even more. You know, it's just like a level of accomplishment.
Dylan, just to ask you a football question, because I know we have to do that. I think, I don't know, Andy, you tell me, coming into the year, I don't know that people expect Tennessee to be one of the top 5 teams in the country. So far, you guys have had an incredible start. You have an exciting new quarterback. You just beat a really good team by 41 points. You're scoring touchdowns every, 2 minutes in real time. What has it been like in this building for your whole team to realize that, now this might be a top 5 team. This might be a team that can make some noise in the SEC and kind of recapture some of the magic from 2 years ago?
I think the best thing about it is like everybody's just level with it, it's really not listening to outside noise, because, the same people that will hype you up when you kind of trip up a little bit be the same people that could get in your ear, you know what I'm saying? So I think everybody's doing a good job just staying it week by week. We know the work that we put in from January, spring ball, fall camp, you know what I'm saying? We started to realize the pieces that we had coming together. Now we just have the ability to go out there and show it, connect with ourselves, get a deep level with ourselves. And then, people obviously start seeing it too. But I think the best thing we could do for ourselves is just taking it week by week.
Now, you knew this role was coming for you. You knew this offensive line was going to be blocking for you. How much do you talk to them in the offseason about what a special time this can be?
Yeah, we definitely had a couple conversations. Just going throughout, obviously, especially got a lot of guys with experience. Especially able to teach the other guys in the room too. So it's all working out in many ways, but there's really too much didn't have to be said. Didn't have to talk about it too much. We knew what it was. We came to work every single day, every single day, whether that was through injury during the off season or not. Like we was doing everything we needed to attack. So I just love running behind those guys. You know what I'm saying? I already know they're going to go out there and give their all, you know what I'm saying, regardless of how they feeling. So I got to give them that too.
What's this place like? Like, what's your life like when Tennessee football program is rolling? So I can imagine, I've never seen a game in Neyland. That's something I'm going to have to correct one day. Yeah. I'm Mr. SEC here is going to help me out with that. I was up in Big.
I've seen a lot of games in Neyland. I've seen some good ones.
heard it's one of the loudest stadiums in the country, and the most FOMO I've ever had in my entire life was the Alabama game 2 years ago, just watching it on TV.
Been there.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if I could go back in time and be one place for one event. It might have been that. But what is it like day to day? Because you can just feel the energy, you can feel the excitement. And what's it like to be a part of the reason why people are excited to wake up in the morning?
Yeah, definitely. You come in the building, I think you could, it's a different type of energy kind of than we had last year. Like I'm saying, even them days where we kind of might be a little tired, it's still like we having fun with it, you know what I'm saying? We come in, learn, work hard, you know what I'm saying? So obviously, you got to walk the class. I think the campus is more vibrant than, first of all, I've seen this here, but when we're rolling, you know what I'm saying? So you obviously have people shout out to you and stuff and, talk to you if they recognize you, but, it's still so routine driven, you can't get too caught up in it because you got to be level headed for that one, but it's an amazing time. The skies blue, to see footballs around when we roll them, you got to keep it rolling.
So you got an NIL deal with Cheez-It. Yeah. How often do people come up to you and say, "I woke up feeling cheesiest, coach"?
I don't know.
I hate that commercial so much.
It was a good couple months, for the bowl game, after the bowl game, let me get that Cheez-It chain. You slid the Cheez-It. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
You got to hear that's so the rose. Can you explain the rose on your chain?
Yeah, okay. So rose is one of my favorite symbols growing up because Tupac Shakur, he wrote the poem "Long Live the Rose That Grew from Concrete" when no one else even cared. So it just basically talks about he was kind of that rose that grew from concrete, not the prettiest rose, with kind of withered and petals falling off, but concrete obviously being his struggles, hardship situation. So it was if people will walk on the street and walk past the rose that grew from concrete, they will marvel at that rose because it was able to grow in concrete. So he was like, why am I any different? He was like, why don't you, you know what I'm saying, respect me for what I came out of? And, even though I might be broken and damaged, that's what I come out of. So it's just a representation to me that everybody has their own hardships, which is the concrete. We're never perfect. We'll never be a perfect rose, but you know what I'm saying? The rose is one of the strongest plants that survive through the cold, all that. So it's just reminder to keep going, through the face of adversity and all of your challenges and hardships.
That was deep. Yeah. No, I mean, it is. Yeah, no. I'm just saying, I just the hearing you talk about it, it's a really moving thing. And forgive me for going back to something that's not as serious as that, but I have to get a Cheez-It takeoff. Do you mind? And it isn't for health reasons or anything, but I think the reduced fat Cheez-It is the GOAT Cheez-It.
You think so?
You had the reduced fat?
I've never had it.
Because they're less greasy and they're crispy and they're just try it for me, okay? You're the representative. I'm not the guy.
I'm gonna try it.
He's got a 2-year-old, so there are Cheez-Its all over his house and car. It's just nothing but Cheez-Its.
The pantheon of Cheez-It is reduced fat, number 1, toasty, number 2, and then the regular is number 3.
Toasty is
ranking. I mean,
you ever had the Parmesan? I think it's
yeah, the Parmesan's pretty good too. Yeah.
Well, we've talked about moving. We've been moved by you now, but we now need to get moving. So if you would not mind, you are the best end zone dancer in America. We need a little tutorial for me and Ari, and it's not going to be pretty. I'll warn you right now. But can you just get us up to speed? If we find ourselves in an end zone, give us what we can something we can do. And we're gonna have the dance floor on the Peyton Manning 16. So let's give it a shot.
You kind of just want to do this with your knees, like this with your knees. Yep. And then when your arms like this, yeah. Then you can speed it up. Nah, you got it. You got it.
This is beautiful. This is that was quick.
Can you do that?
Huh? I mean, I can't.
All right, let's see how it's supposed to look, though, please.
So you get like this.
Look how smooth it is when he does it versus when you do it.
You gotta do the cat daddy. You gotta do it and go down with it.
I told you I'm a waist bender, not a new better. So wait, down.
You can really like grab like go opposite,
grab?
like go opposite. Yeah, like look, you want to stack your feet like this.
Oh, okay.
On some real. And you can like you grab, and then it's like you go like rolling really. And yeah.
He told me to row.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think Peyton Manning would enjoy this.
It looks like Peyton Manning. I bet he can't dance either.
I should have just forked.
At the end, yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I should have dropped it like it was hot.
You got some ass there.
Yeah. Yeah, I should have just twerked, Ari.
At the end.
Yeah.
Say that on the show.
Just make it drop and bend and snap.
Bend.
And snap. Would have been tremendous. No, it's just tremendous, Ari. Our friends at PrizePicks, best daily fantasy game in America. Use that code STAPLES. You play $5, you get $50 instantly. How does it work? You pick your squares. You're working against the number. You pick at least 2 squares. You can go more, though, and the more you pick, the higher the potential payout. They have already got squares on the board for the Party School Bowl on Thursday night. That's right, Arizona State and Texas State. So if you have serious thoughts about Sam Levitt or Jordan McLeod's passing yards for that game, which I do have some thoughts on that, and we actually probably shooting a video about that later today because we're going to do PrizePicks previews for some of the biggest games of the week. So I have some thoughts on a lot of these. The board is being populated as we speak, but there are squares on the board for the Party School Bowl on Thursday night, which I am very, very excited about. So download PrizePicks, use the code STAPLES, play 5, get $50 instantly, and have some fun because there's a lot of good games this weekend. Also, remember they have the NFL as well. You want a free square. You want to just have your square. Caleb Williams, every weekend this month, there's a Caleb Williams square that you're essentially getting for free. It's basically more than 0.5 passing yards. So if he passes for a yard, you get it. So get that Caleb Williams square and then pick one you really like in the Party School Bowl. There you go. You could have yourself a winner. Download PrizePicks, code STAPLES, play 5, get $50 instantly. All right, Ari. It is time to present my takes, and you will determine which is the sauciest,
Andy,
which is the Wendy spicy ghost pepper of takes.
I've been very much looking forward to this. We came into it blindly last week. Let's just get right into it. I cannot wait to see how spicy you're going to get. It's a podcast, so get spicy now. Okay?
All right, here we go. Take number 1. Billy Napier has to start DJ Lagway against Texas A&M. It's the only way to save his job. Like starting Graham Mertz, and here's the problem with this. This is I struggle handing out this take, even though I believe I am right, and I believe this is the only path forward. Because Billy Napier is a very nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want him to get fired. I know a lot of Florida fans want him to get fired, but you talk to people who work with him, talk to people who work for him. Like, he's a nice guy. He's a decent human being. Like, you don't want this to happen. But part of being a decent human being is he does things like Graham Mertz is back. He's been cleared from concussion protocol. He's practicing full speed. You start him against Texas A&M. And Graham Mertz, by the way, fantastic person. Like, we've had him on the show. He's awesome. I remember at SEC Media Days, he was coming to do a spot with JD. And I told JD, I'm like, he's going to be your favorite quarterback after this. I'm warning you right now. And JD does the interview. And I'm like, how'd it go? Well, he's delightful. And he is. But it ain't show friends. Mm-hmm. It ain't show family. Mm-hmm. It's show business. And DJ Lagway gives them the best chance to win. And he also gives Billy Napier the best chance to continue as Florida's coach. Look, I get that pretty much everyone affiliated with Florida is out on Billy Napier after the Miami game, including some of the big money people. But I will tell you this, that's a very emotional crowd. If they win some games and they see a hope for the future, they might change their minds. I don't know if they will, but they might. And the last chance you have, if you're Billy Napier, is to let that guy who has multiple years of eligibility remaining, who's a true freshman, who throws the ball like, I don't know. I mean, you haven't seen somebody throwing the ball at Florida like that in a long time. Because I actually think he's more accurate than Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson maybe had the bigger skill set, but DJ's accurate with that a skill set that's fairly comparable. So if you're Billy Napier, there is no other choice, but I'm not sure that's the choice he's going to make.
Yeah, and I don't know if we're going to take, this is me judging your takes, but if we take the step forward, and I'm going to add a little bit extra to the take, and you can add this to it, but if Billy Napier does start Graham Mertz, Andy, what does that mean in terms of whether or not he's even showing us if he's equipped for the job?
I think he's showing us he's not, because you have to be a killer in this job. You have to put sentimentality aside. You have to do the thing that helps your team and you the most. And right now, that is start DJ Lagway.
And it's like, reminds me of the column that you have up on 3 right now about Ryan Day and whether or not he's a psychopath enough to be a head coach. And we mean that in an endearing way. Are you a show business person who will put everything above everything in order to win football games? And you have to have a certain mentality. You have to have a certain ruthlessness, and you have to have a certain way about you in the way that you approach this job. And, you know, I don't know if there's a lot of places at the top for just nice dudes. You know, like Ryan Day's a nice dude. We're going to get a case study this year. And this isn't a Ryan Day conversation, but it reminds me a lot of like you have a similar type of dynamic of like your job's on the line, Florida seasons and futures on the line. There's no room for feelings here.
Yeah.
You know,
King Malik in the chat, who has the better QB, Texas A&M or Florida? And
which one?
Yeah. Are we comparing Connor Wegman to Graham Mertz, or are we comparing Connor Wegman to DJ Lagway? Because I think if it's DJ Lagway, then it's Florida.
I mean, I'll rank them 1 through 3 if you want.
Go for it.
Okay, I'll take, if it was players that I had to take on my team this year, I would take Lagway 1, I would take Wegman 2, and Mertz 3.
And there's your answer. And so we'll see what happens, because we have actually Florida and A&M will make their first appearances on the SEC availability report tonight.
Yeah, so that's going to be a difference. We're going to figure out really, I think, where Florida stands on Wednesday evening now that the schools are forced and have to give us injury information that is more revelatory than maybe it has been in the past. But Andy, you're in a situation right now as Billy Napier's sitting in his chair. If I, in this studio here in wonderful Nashville, Tennessee, sit next to my best bud, can't give you at least one reason why Graham Mertz should start from a rational standpoint,
right?
Then why
would you do it?
And I would love to hear what Billy, if he does it, and I were at that game, I would ask, why did you do that?
I had a Florida fan tweet at me earlier this week, and I thought it was interesting. They said, if he starts Graham Mertz, we're going to boo. And I want you to know we're not booing Graham Mertz. We're booing Billy Napier.
Yeah.
And they will. And there's going to be no Smithers standing behind you to say it's Boo Earns. They will be booing you, and they'll be letting their feelings be known. Now, listen, we're all going to look incredibly stupid if Graham Mertz starts, balls out, and they
don't think so. I don't even agree with that.
But you and I were there at the Miami game.
Yeah.
And we've seen what Texas A&M's defensive line looks like, and we've seen what Florida's offensive line looks like, and we've seen what Florida's defensive line looks like. Like Texas A&M on their second center, I understand that, but I don't know that. I think Miami's offensive line is very good. I don't know that it's that good that they made Florida's defensive line look completely incapable of anything.
Yeah, Cam Ward was basically not touched in that game.
Yeah.
We were sitting in the press box watching it. I was just like, are they going to even make him sweat? Like, we're talking about going on the road to the swamp, and we've been analyzing how much of a test this is going to be for somebody who's at a new program going into an SEC environment. And it was very easy for him to pick Florida apart because he wasn't touched. So, that is a realistic thing. But going back to the Mertz thing, Andy, as you were talking, it's like Florida plays A&M. They start Graham Mertz. Graham Mertz throws for 220 yards and 2 touchdowns, no turnovers, and they win. Like, that is still, in your mind, the right call? If was he vindicated there, or
he's vindicated for this week? The question
and
is,
then they start Mertz next week, and then it's back to some of the stuff that we've seen, and
Well,
they lose. Like I don't know
well,
that this
right.
is a short term thing. This is we're not talking about go win the A&M game, and I guess maybe for him, if he's in a position where every single loss that piles up on their resume now is a potential job-ending loss. But I'm thinking if I'm Billy Napier, I want to do everything I can to make this season about hope and progress.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that beating A&M in a 1.5 point spread game with the quarterback that was on your team last year that won some games like this really does prove anything when it comes to whether or not you've
and that's the thing. If DJ Lagway is going to save Billy Napier's job, if Billy Napier is going to save his job, winning against Texas A&M is the minimum. Winning against Mississippi State
vindication.
Is the minimum. Winning against UCF is the minimum. You've got to be able to beat Tennessee. You got to be able to beat Georgia. You got to be able to beat Texas. Like, not all of them, but you got to be able to beat some of them if you want to keep this job.
Yeah, I'm looking back last year and at Florida's schedule as we speak, and Florida beat the number 11 Tennessee Volunteers 29-16.
Yeah, Tennessee can't play in Gainesville. It's
okay.
It's a thing.
Okay. Well, they also beat South Carolina at home.
No, they beat South Carolina
on the road. Sorry, on the road.
In a game where that was back and forth. Neither team played defense. Florida actually probably outplayed Missouri. Missouri made a miracle play on 4th and 13 to win that game.
Yeah.
But
and that was on the road too.
That was on the road
But
too.
the point I'm trying to make here, Andy, is that Florida, before they lost 5 or 6 games to end the season last year, already proved they could win a game like this A&M game.
Right.
It's not about like showing that you can win a pretty solid. It's about showing improvement, giving people something to latch onto. And it's like, I think that a win against A&M with Graham Mertz starting. This is a take. You want to take? I'm going to throw one back in your face.
Go for it. Go for it.
I think that a Florida win by 17 with Graham Mertz as the quarterback would not be as inspiring as a Florida win by 4 with DJ Lagway.
I think if you were a fan, you'd feel that way. If you're the coach, you might not feel that way.
But I think that if you're the coach who is hoping to be the coach for a month, that you want the sentiment as a fan to be that. Like, that's the thing. It's like, we're not looking at, well, how can we feel the best on Sunday in the film room? And that might sound stupid. I know that you want to win by the most amount of points and have the best possible game. But from a perception standpoint, for a passion standpoint, this win, a 17-point win over A&M, does not help you escape apathy. Apathy is the enemy here. Mm-hmm. You want enthusiasm. You want people to want to come to the games to see something.
The people who write 7-figure checks are the biggest fans.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They're the most passionate.
Who do you want? What do you want people to talk about at dinner? Wow, we really turned it around. Graham, like, they're at their steakhouses after the game that night with all their nice blazers and their pipes. You know, that's how I think all boosters are, by the way.
You think they all smoke pipes?
They all smoke pipes. You know, just like rich person behavior. You know, they would be first class.
Chronicles?
Every single person that's a booster in college football is exactly dressed at dinner the way they did in first class in the Titanic. That's
well. The question is, are they cruising on the Titanic or not? We're gonna find out.
Just like that type of like outfit. But all kidding aside, at dinner, you want them to be like, holy crap, we got somebody in Lagway. Holy crap, look at this kid. The sky's the limit. Holy crap.
It's all about optimism, future, reason to keep writing checks.
But it's everything, even in our coverage.
Yeah.
What do people care about more? Current team coverage or who the 5-star they could get is? Everything is about the future. And Billy Napier we're not at the point in the season anymore where we're worried about SEC championships and winning 10 games. That is out the window. Like, you got to play the game. Like, what are we talking about? Having the best possible season or giving Billy Napier the best possible chance to save his job? Because those are two very different discussions. So I'm on the conversation of
happy fans enticed by Lagway has a better chance of saving your job
than 5-7 because Graham Mertz had a few good games.
Agreed. All right, next take. Deion Sanders had better show that he wants to stay at Colorado long term right now. And the way you do that is you start recruiting high schools now. I don't care that that you're behind. I don't care that you weren't doing it before. Time to start doing it if you plan to stay there. Otherwise, all those critics, and we weren't among them at the beginning, but all those critics who say this is daddy ball on steroids, they're going to be right. And Deion's going to be gone, and Colorado's going to be looking at exactly what it was before he got there.
The best time for Deion Sanders to start recruiting high schools was yesterday. And yesterday it was the day before.
Yeah.
Like every single day that goes by where that doesn't happen is a wasted day. So here's the thing with Deion and Colorado. On one hand, he has unquestionably created a better sentiment, a place where people want to buy tickets.
They're excited.
They've
Yes,
won
exactly.
games that they probably would have lost in the past. They have two of the most electrifying players in college football that would not be there if it weren't for him. Like, he has done good. But we are talking about Colorado a lot of times to people who don't follow college football the way that we do and the great fans in our chat do. And there's a lot of Deion fans. There's not a lot of Colorado fans, right?
Right.
The tried and true Colorado fans exist, but I think that they know if they pay attention to how the sport works, what you have to do to create something that isn't just a flash in the pan or a cool story. You have to create something with staying power by building it with a foundation. And that foundation is built through adding players. And we had a conversation yesterday, but if Deion would have come out of the gate from day one recruiting high school players, and again, it doesn't have to even be 5-star, 4-star guys.
It can be 3-star
just
plus.
really good,
Yeah.
like Kansas State type classes where they brought in 20 dudes. They would have 50 people on their roster right now that they came up through the high school ranks that they could have accentuated with the players that they wanted to get out of the portal, not needed to get. And they could have gotten some really good skill position players. Shador would still be there. Travis Hunter would still be there. And they might actually have a chance to win 8 games this year. But he has done nothing. And I'm talking to you, Colorado fans, who are only Colorado fans because you're Deion fans. He has done nothing in his time as Colorado's coach to incite or imply that he has any design of being there longer than his kids. And I just, Andy, is your take is just, if you follow college football, your take is lukewarm.
Well, and that's the thing.
If you don't,
Deion fans don't understand college football because they're just here for Deion. Like, they weren't here before, so they don't understand how the sport actually works. So they believe Deion when he says, I have a plan, it's different. Well, we who actually follow the sport know there's a way that works and there's a way that doesn't work, and he keeps doing the way that doesn't work. And you buy it because you don't understand how the sport works.
And I've never really been that comfortable predicting.
Well, let me give you some numbers.
Predicting whether a coach is going to be there at the end.
Yeah, well,
and it's like, I just do not think Deion's going to be the coach.
But let me give you some numbers.
Okay, let's hear them.
So in the classes of 2023 and 2024, how many high school offensive linemen did Deion Sanders sign?
Is it both classes you're asking?
Both classes combined.
3.
Correct.
Yeah,
that's correct. So he signed 2 in 2000, or he signed 1 in 2023, and then 2 in 2024. Jordan Seaton, and a British import who's the 3-star plus type with kind of a project.
But also understand too that most colleges want 5 to 6 a class.
Wait.
Okay, yeah.
How many did Kirby Smart sign at Georgia in the classes of 2023 and 2024?
I would guess 11.
12.
Yeah,
12, because Kirby Smart is worried about winning at Georgia in 2026. You sign offensive linemen in 2023 and 2024 if you'd like to win in 2026 and 2027. That's how it works.
But also, too, win in 2024 if your left tackle blows his knee out. Like, that's like there's also, situations, and Georgia is a really good example, and I'm happy you looked up those numbers. But you have to maintain a certain level of athlete on Georgia's roster to continue to be Georgia. So the 5-star, 4-star type players that they're signing in those classes are more likely to play from day one, even though the offensive line is the hardest thing to transition.
They don't play from day one.
But I'm saying they're more likely
look at
than the players that the Colorado is bringing in year 3 of the transfer portal.
Yeah, exactly. But Georgia understands that, like, you might not. Look at Amarius Mims. He hit the transfer portal because he didn't play right away at Georgia.
Right.
And they're like, dude, hang here. You'll be a first-round draft pick. So, but they almost lost him.
Mm-hmm.
But they kept him. And you know what? If they'd lost him, they would have done? Signed another high school offensive lineman.
That was similarly built and talented to him.
Yes.
Like, that's so, I do think too, and I've made this mistake in the past, Andy, but comparing Colorado to Georgia, I think, is a dangerous game because they're not playing the same sport.
Okay,
Who should
Kansas
we?
State.
That's who we should be comparing.
But here's
them
the
to.
thing, and here's the thing with Deion Sanders, and this is the part that should frustrate you if you're a Colorado fan or a Deion fan, because if they sign classes, I'll give you another one, Utah.
Yeah, no,
Now we're Kansas
cooking.
State or Utah, and then use your Deion Sandersness to sprinkle some 5 stars and 4 stars on top of that
At the skill position players, which those programs typically don't have.
Right.
You are talking about a team that could legitimately win a playoff
They
game.
would dominate the Big 12.
And that's the thing that's crazy, because I think back, Andy, watching the TCU game last year, the opener. And when they beat TCU, and again, you got to put yourself back in at that time, TCU was the defending national champion. I have a heck of a lot of respect for Sonny Dykes and who he is as a coach and what he built at TCU. I was like, if they are beating TCU, and I believe it was on the road, if I remember correctly, on the road,
Yeah.
in week 1 of Deion's first thing, like Colorado is a legitimate problem nationally.
Yes.
Like if Deion is, because I say this a million times and I'll say it 1,000,001. Deion Sanders' #1 qualification for being a coach at this level is fame and stardom. If he is to weaponize that fame and stardom, his qualification for being the coach at high schools and everywhere else he's allowed to be from a recruiting standpoint, by this point in his tenure, their bottom half of their roster would be twice as good as the bottom half of their roster already is. But I think that, and this is a hypothesis, as a word I learned in science in high school, about this, is that he knew coming into this, and this is what I actually think. This is a podcast. I'm going to be real with you. I actually think, and this might not be groundbreaking to some people, that he took this job to be there along the way with his kids to make some extra money, both for him and his kids on the side, his production company for his other kid, get Shador drafted and Shiloh to his ceiling, and then that was it. Like, there was nothing that he has done.
What his most derisive critics have been saying all along, and if you don't know the term daddy ball, if you have a kid in youth sports, you know this term. Daddy ball is when there's, you've got the best player on the team, and that kid's dad starts coaching the team and basically builds everything for their child to be raised up and doesn't really worry about any other players on the team. That's what daddy ball is, and that's what this looks like.
And to wrap it around to your original point, he has done nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean with a capital N, to show that he is interested in building up Colorado's football program long term.
Yeah. Did you say TCU was the national champion or something?
Defending national champion going into last year's opener.
They were not the defending national. I believe Georgia won that game 65-7, Ari.
Yeah.
They had played in the national.
I know that. It was a brain fart. Thank you for correcting me. They were defending national
I just saw the
championship
chat light up, and I'm like, wait a second. Did that fly over my? Did Ari hand the Horned Frogs the national title?
Somebody who paid 3 months worth of mortgage on that game knows that they didn't win that football game, but it was a mistake. And thank you for correcting me.
Hey, some of the game day people picked TCU in that game.
Some of the athletic people picked.
Yeah,
TCU
you remember what we did?
I said it wasn't even worth watching.
We left. we did a taco tour with Dan Rubenstein around LA. We went to media day on Saturday, and we flew. I went to the coaches convention, and you went home because we knew what was going to happen in that game.
I remember being on that taco tour with Dan Rubenstein, and we went around because it wasn't just eating tacos, but we were also talking about like how we were supposed to.
Mike Golick Jr. and Nina Kimes. It was a great night
on the bus. Yeah. And they were going around and asking everybody, how interesting is this matchup? And I was like, this is the least interesting matchup I've ever seen in my entire life. And the entire bus is like,
not me.
But I'm sorry. I do have this thing, and this happens to me, Andy, at home with Britt too, my wife. I say different things sometimes than what's in my head. Thankfully, it hasn't gotten me fired. But like, I will think.
Nice to know a week and a half into the job.
Yeah, no, but I will say things like during an argument or while we're talking, and she'll be like, you realize that's not what you said. And I'll be like, that's exactly what I said. And then like, I think it occurs to me that I said the wrong thing. So hopefully it doesn't amount to me getting fired here, but I meant a TCU team that made it to the national championship.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Glad we cleared that up. Take number 3. Are we sure Oregon is good? Are we sure? Like, I think Boise State's actually pretty good, and I think Oregon beating Boise State, when we look back on it at the end of the year, going to be looked at as a good win. But I look at how much they struggled with Boise State. I look at how much they struggled with Idaho, which they absolutely had no business struggling with. I look at Dan Lanning saying, we're trying different offensive line combinations. We're not sure where we're at on that. Are we sure they're good? Or are they just still figuring it out?
Here's the thing. If the Boise State game existed on its own and they would have beaten Idaho 59,
I wouldn't be saying this
we would
at
not
all.
be talking about this.
So they're going into the Oregon State game against a team that is righteously pissed off at their entire program, that would love nothing more than to shove it right up their what their feathery butt.
Sphincter.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing it like a duck.
Yeah. Feathery butt. Oh,
yeah. But Oregon State wants nothing more than to humiliate them in the most public fashion.
Yeah. The spread has moved from 13.5 to 16, I think. So, people are, the money's flowing in on one side.
For Oregon to break out, to be the team that we think can compete with Ohio State, can win the Big Ten. Are we sure we're going to see that team?
No, we're not sure. I don't think we can be sure, because coaches and people have told me over the years, and as I'm sure you've heard 100 times, Andy, and even people in my life, if somebody is telling you who they are, believe them. And at a certain point, you have to start believing them. Now, I don't know if we've gotten to that point yet, but if Oregon beats Oregon State on the road by 3, and it's just like another game like the one that they've had the first 2 weeks,
that's what they are.
Then I think you go into it with a recalibration of what you think they're going to do in the Big Ten. But that said, I think what this also could be, and what I think is more likely, this is my opinion, they had a clunker in the first game of the season because it was Idaho and they just weren't playing well. And then it's possible that they just played a game against a team that's fired up, who happens to have one of the best players in college football on their team.
Number 1 on my Heisman list.
So
after the second week,
and they just played a really good game, and that happens sometimes, and then they could beat Oregon State 59-20. Because I always feel like, too, if you go look at Oregon's past schedules and stuff, like Oregon has a few of these games where it's like, what the hell is that?
Well,
and then they follow up with 55-10, 42-6. And then they play Washington State 38-24. That was last year. It's just like, what happened? It's like, I think that it happens. I'm not there yet, but I did move them down. I didn't move them down at all in the bubble watch or my top 10 after week 1.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, but I did move them down after the Boise game.
Yeah.
So I think that this is, first of all, a rivalry game. So I think it's inherently interesting to a lot of people. But 2, I think this is very interesting because we need more context of what this team is. But I don't know how a team that has the 2 receivers that they have in Evan Stewart and Tez Walker on their team cannot be good in offense. Like, I just can't. It doesn't compute to me.
And the problem is they've not figured out the right 5 on the offensive line. Our friend Jeff Schwartz, who played offensive line in Oregon, played in the NFL, he broke the tape down earlier this week and said there's just a lot of mistakes. And he said there's a lot of mistakes on their D-line too. Mental errors, things that just shouldn't be happening right now.
Yeah.
So Dan Lanning addressed it. He said they are trying to find the right combination on the offensive side of the ball. And maybe they do. Maybe they figure it out. And
did you watch their games thinking their O-line was having problems?
Yeah.
Like, it was like 2 a.m, and I was like, kind of like,
yeah, because like that line, like you look at Josh Connolly and Johnny Cornelius, and those are NFL bodies at tackle. And you're just like, why can't you just blow open some holes and take control of this game? Like, why is this continually back and forth like this? Why don't you just start dominating? And that's the thing. We expect them to be dominant.
Oh, they only had 109 rushing yards in that game. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was a lot of throwing. It had a fumble recovery that helped them a lot. They had a special teams play that was
There's
huge.
some grab ass in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So they've not been dominant yet on both lines of scrimmage. And we came into the season with the assumption that they would be. So I need to see it. So now this week against the Beavers would be a great time to show us that before you hit Big Ten play. Just say it, because I'm not sure you're good yet. I would like to see it. Corvallis is a great place to show it. All right, Ari.
Okay.
What is the ghost pepper of those takes.
Okay,
The
so
Wendy's Saucy Nug Ghost Pepper of those takes.
So here's the thing. I think that the Colorado take is actually the mildest.
You're right. It's the sanest.
There's just
it's facts.
factual statement. So, and it depends on who gets it. And then the other two were Billy Napier, and the first one was
the Oregon one.
I think that your sauciest ghost peppery take is probably the Oregon one, because I think that the other
they're
two,
probably good.
I think they're probably good. And I think that early on in the season, I have a tendency, and a lot of people have a tendency to overreact on the positive when teams get off to a good start. I don't know if I am at the point right now where I'm questioning whether or not Oregon is the second or first best team in the Big Ten. And the other thing too is that your takes, your Colorado take and your Florida take, are interesting and real. But I agree with you, and I think that they are so
I think
based
most
in fact
people agree with me on those.
that hot take to me is just like you think something that nobody else thinks.
Yeah.
And if you think Oregon is not who you thought they were, then to me,
I'm worried.
If you are worried, that would be the ghost pepper.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think you're right about that.
Yeah.
And I am legitimately worried. But we got to wrap things up. How we're going to do that, Ari? We're going to celebrate. Sharon Moore, Michigan coach, has signed his contract. They've been depositing the checks all along.
Yeah.
So it really didn't matter that whether he signed it or not. But
it does kind of matter, doesn't it?
I mean, you signed the memorandum of understanding, which has all the basic stuff.
It's not like they could have just fired him no problem.
Right.
Yeah.
You still would have had the buyout, all that stuff. Again, you still have to send the direct deposits. But for all of you who might have been worried because Sharon Moore had not signed his contract, sleep easy tonight. He has signed it.
Bring me my money.
I don't know why that became a thing.
It's amazing. I watch it every day.
I want Malkovich from Rounders because it feels like they're just perverting that.
But the way that it was the voice and the mannerisms, I think that were so funny. But yeah, pay this man his money.
Exactly. That's the line. That's the perfect one. So pay Sharon Moore his money. Signature on the dotted line. Actually, it's probably a solid line. Tomorrow, Dear Andy and Ari show. We need your questions. You know how to find us at Andy_Staples, at Ari Wasserman on Twitter and Instagram. AndyStaplesOn3@gmail.com. If you have an epic question that is too long for social media, send us those questions. We cannot wait to answer them on tomorrow's show, and we will talk to you tomorrow.